Comic-Con International in San Diego isn't just full of books featuring overly muscly men in tights and capes. Fortunately, it also gets to showcase and preview some of the biggest upcoming AAA gaming titles around. One of the highest profile games featured this year was Gears of War 3. Here's Cliff Bleszinski to tell us more.
So Gears of War 3 is the third game, of course, in the original trilogy of games of what Gears is going to be. We never said it would be a trilogy. We had just hoped that we would be at this point. The planet has essentially gone to hell. Everybody's stranded now, and you have Marcus and Dom and the other members of Delta are now living aboard what is essentially a flotilla, kind of a cobbled together boat, because a new threat has arisen known as the lambent, and this is this golden energy source of emulsion that has started to take over some of the locusts in the world and turn them into these horrifically mutating creatures, and that's where we start off. There's great new weapons. We're doing 4-player co-op now, and we're going to have a really, really great story that's being written by Karen Travis, who's the New York Times bestselling author that wrote the Gears novels as well.
Cliff Bleszinski is as close to an A-list celebrity as they come in the gaming world, thanks to his innovative and original approach to gameplay, graphics, and, of course, gut-ripping weaponry. Hey, tell us a bit about the new firearms in Gears 3.
One of my favorite new weapons is the Pendulum Air Lancer. It's the older version of our signature weapon, which of course is a gun with a chainsaw attached to it. And it's basically a giant bayonet on the front of it. Imagine like a 8-inch long spear, and you can hold the B button and basically dash at your enemies and just kind of jam it through them and pick them up and toss them aside. We also have another great one called the Digger Launcher, and it's kind of a little digging explosive mine creature that you can send underneath cover, which will pop up and take out your enemies bouncing Betty style. We also have the Vulcan cannon, which is I don't want to get into that too much. It's a lot of great, nasty, horrible, wonderful weapons.
As Cliff Bleszinski is about to say, the Gears series helped make co-op in video games part of the norm. So what sets Gears apart from the other wannabes?
So Gears of War 1 kind of made co-op in the industry something that was nice, and now made it very necessary. And a lot of games do co-op, but very few games do true story-based co-op, and that's what Gears excels at. So when you're player 3 and you're playing as Anya Stroud with a Lancer, you're playing as her, and that's the only way to play as her in the campaign. We wanted to do 4-player co-op originally, maybe with Gears 1 and 2, but just the schedule was like entirely too crammed to actually make the great games we wanted to make. And now we're at the point where we think enough gamers out there want it, and we think it's time to deliver it.
Well, Mr. Bleszinski, 4-player story-driven co-op. That's pretty immense. Unless you've got no friends. Then it would probably just serve as a constant reminder of your own social inadequacies, constantly thrusting the reality of your suffocating loneliness into your face each time you load up the game. So, how hard was it to make a good co-op experience and keep the balance right for this third installment, especially now 4 players are involved?
Co-op is especially tricky to design for because now you have 4 concentrated guns, double the power of what was in Gears 2 in regards to 2-player co-op, and so we have to do a lot of behind-the-scenes tricks as far as different enemy spawns or tweaking the enemy's health and things like that. But rest assured, we want players to play through the Gears 3 campaign not just once, by themselves and enjoy it as the cinematic roller coaster ride, but grab a friend, grab a couple more, and experience again. I mean, we have this arcade mode that allows you to kind of play with kind of an active kind of toll of what your score is, so you kind of can compare and contrast how well you did against your friends, and it's really, really a great way to replay the campaign.
Considering the troubled history of films based on video games, it's no surprise that the Gears movie is constantly swapping between production and, not production. What does Cliff Bleszinski think about the likelihood of a potential Gears movie, and really, could it ever be as good as a Super Mario Brothers movie?
The Gears movie is something that's still in a state of flux. It's one of those situations that Hollywood is very much touch and go. One minute your project is in full production, the next minute it's in movie jail. And we were previously at a situation where we had a very, very large budget, and the studio looked back and said, hang on a second here, this is probably going to be rated R, it's going to have chainsawing, and it doesn't have a love story in it. We're not sure this is a good idea. And so we're like, sure. So now we're looking at doing something that's more akin to a District 9 type production, something that's gritty, something that is a slightly lower budget, but something that's a lot more intimate with the characters and the kind of action that occurs, and does probably not feature Will Smith's son.
Cliff Bleszinski's
It's Bleszinski!
Cliff Bleszinski's Gears of War 1 was full of bromance, Gears 2 was full of no-mance because, spoiler, Dom's wife dies. So, what What kind of manse do we have in store for Gears 3? Romance, perhaps?
There's an implied love story in the Gears universe. I mean, there's also different stories with different characters and their relationships, right? You had Dom and Maria and what Dom went through. You have some weird thing going on with Marcus and Anya that we talk about a little bit more in the books, but we haven't really touched upon in the games. That's one of the things that we're hoping to kind of allude to a little bit more in Gears of War 3. That's not to say it's going to be Titanic, but there will be a little bit more of that in the game.
Thanks, Cliff. So, will the game actually be any good? Of course it will. It's Gears, multiplied by 4. Sort of. And it's out in the UK in April 2011.